This is Matthew Marshall from Portugal.net, and you're listening to the Seleção podcast.
Simões bending one for Torres. Eusebio. Oh my word! Have you ever seen anything like that?
Bem jogado por Simão, a passar por dois adversários. Simão a tentar oferecer o golo a Figo e a bola é golo! O golo de Figo!
Rui Costa já acreditou, vai tirar para o golo, atira golo! 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 Cristiano Ronaldo, vai embora Cristiano Ronaldo! Mete, bateu, golo! Chuta! Gol!
And we welcome you to episode number 78 of the Seleção podcast, a proud partner of Portugal.net. My name is Danny Pinto. I am your host. Thank you guys so much for tuning in once again, and as perfect a start, I think that anyone who had any reservations about the appointment of Roberto Martínez could have asked for. Obviously, competition not of the highest quality, but a two-win start is a two-win start. 10 goals in 2 games, 2 shutouts, and of course, top of their league. And we'll go ahead and get all that situated and covered. By a man who was like probably one of a handful of people outside of the players, coaches, and members of the federation who has seen both matches of the Roberto Martínez era in person. That, of course, being Matthew Marshall of Portugal.net. He'll join us here in just a few moments. But before we get Matthew on, let's make sure you guys hit our website, selecaopod.com. Bookmark that website to your browser there. And, of course, follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at Selecaopod, Facebook.com/Selecaopod, and you can email the show, selecaopod@gmail.com. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify. If you're watching us right here on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification button, anything you need to do to make sure that you are listening to us when these episodes are available to you. Subscribe everywhere that you can. Both on YouTube and on any of your favorite podcasting platforms. But now we start. Now we begin. And now we get to cover what again is a dream start for Roberto Martínez. 10 goals, no goals allowed, 2 victories, most importantly. And the man who has been there for both matches, covering it for Portugal.net, Matthew Marshall. He joins us now from Luxembourg, just a couple of hours after the match, as we are recording late Sunday, very early Monday for Matthew. But Matthew, first off, thanks for coming back to the show.
No worries, Danny. Good to see you again, mate. How's it going?
It's good, absolutely good. It's a bit of a flying start for the Seleção podcast. Some goals, lots of goals, Matthew. It's quite a difference from just eking out these 2-1 or 2-0 victories under the quote unquote Fernandes slow ball era, if you want to call that. But I would say as good of a start as Roberto Martínez probably could have asked for.
Yeah, exactly. But Liechtenstein and Luxembourg are not exactly top caliber opponents, are they?
How so, Matthew?
Well, I mean, I haven't really seen any of the replays for the goals tonight, but some of that defending, just leaving guys wide open in the 6-yard box and stuff like that. But it is what it is, mate. But as you say, it's quite interesting what we're seeing from Martínez, and I guess we'll get into that in a bit more detail.
Yeah, I mean, of course, just on the surface of everything, I guess we can go back to the appointment, because I haven't been able to speak to you since the appointment. We've had some subsequent episodes of the pod since then, but obviously the appointment came as a surprise to most people, if not almost everyone, other than probably Roberto Martínez and his agent. But the appointment was a surprise appointment, and obviously, you wrote in your, and I think it was your recap article from the Liechtenstein match. It could have been the one from Sunday's match against Luxembourg, but I talked about this with Tom Kundert in the previous episode. Roberto Martínez Martinez is not going to be judged during this qualifying period. He's going to be judged hopefully next summer in Germany. And obviously it looks like we're on the right track to get there, obviously, with the two wins thus far and a relatively weak group, all due respect to the other nations. But for as many questions as there was in the hire, he couldn't have asked for a better start. But obviously tougher times are going to come. Iceland on the road, Bosnia and Herzegovina on the road, but not much more he could have asked for, I think, from his players in the first two matches.
No, I mean, I don't think any manager could have asked for an easier introduction to any team. Club football, obviously, it's more games more rapidly, but yeah, here he's got a bit of time just to go away, and yeah, just all that pressure that he had in Belgium is just completely gone now, and it's going to be a long time, of course, before the Portuguese fans and the media turn on him, which will happen eventually, of course. It's just a matter of when. So yeah, this qualifying campaign shouldn't be a problem. I don't think Iceland are as strong as they used to be. Trips to Bosnia and Slovakia could be tricky, but I don't even see that happening. I don't see any problems after what I've seen in the last couple of games. So Portugal will qualify quite easily, I think. And as you say, we just have to wait till what are we, 15 months away or something, to see who the group opponents are, and that's really when it gets serious. So it's incredible that a manager takes over, and it's more than a year before he gets tested.
Yeah, I mean, in essence, I mean, we've talked about before, our thoughts on on Nations League, how the importance of the federation for Nations League not being able to develop maybe some of the younger players here that maybe we would have liked because other nations may be taking that route. Again, with respect to the rest of these teams, you could be using this as a more kind of a more sophisticated kind of friendly schedule because of the opponents that are at your disposal to introduce some of these younger players, like Gonçalo Inácio that debuted and got his first senior cap against Liechtenstein. We didn't get to see Diogo Leite, but then you saw Antonio Silva in the starting lineup in Sunday's match against Luxembourg with Ruben Dias and Danilo. So I think there's opportunities here to kind of have Roberto Martinez kind of figure out what he has, given the type of schedule that is in front of him before next summer. But what I wanted to talk to you, one of the things I want to talk to you about is, you're one of the few people that I know and that can reach out to that was in Qatar and has now been in been in attendance for these first two matches under Martinez. And obviously Qatar left a very sour taste in a lot of people's mouth in terms of how it ended, the relationship between Fernando Santos and Ronaldo, and the reaction Ronaldo would gave after the South Korea match, and then just not being included in the 6-1 draw, all that stuff. It's a very small sample size, but how would you characterize maybe just the vibe, the attitude, and the kind of aura, I guess, of where we're at with Roberto Martinez in terms of how he runs his national team after the first couple of matches?
It's a difficult question, but of course, any new manager bounce just brings refreshes the squad, puts them all on their toes, I guess you might say. I guess if you're talking about Ronaldo, it is interesting. Obviously, he's been subbed in both games. And today was quite early. And if I had unlimited questions for Roberto Martinez, I would love to ask him: Have you talked to Ronaldo and basically told him, you're going to give Gonçalo Ramos more game time, and I'm going to sub you off almost every game? Because I think I don't really read much in the media, but I did see a little bit of, I think Ronaldo said something recently, like when he was asked about does he regret that interview and the way he left Manchester United, it said something about when you're on the top of the mountain, it's hard to see, your decline or something. But I think probably since Qatar, Ronaldo's had a bit of reflection, and he's not going to pose those problems that he did for Santos in Qatar. So that gives Roberto Martinez, it's a big headache that's avoided for him. So the squad harmony, I think, will benefit from that. And yeah, I mean, it's a pretty difficult question, but as I said, these two games, it's just nothing. I mean, there's just no threat at all. I mean, what they had like 5 minutes at the beginning of the second half, Luxembourg, and that was about it. So we'll just have to wait and see, when Portugal get tested, when they get put under pressure, when they lose a game, when they draw a game, how the squad reacts. But I think the early signs are good. We'll get into the tactical stuff, and what I was thinking about today was really Bruno Fernandes. I mean, apart from the formation, he's the guy who's really taken on a bit of a different role, you might say, and I think that's really interesting, and we can maybe break that down as well a bit later.
Yeah, actually, let's talk about that now, because he's one of the, in this new formation, and Roberto Martínez has run the 3-4-3 in his first two matches, changing out the wingbacks in the second match. He had Gonçalo and Guerreiro playing against Liechtenstein on Thursday, and then he had Dalot and then Nunes inserted into the starting lineup on Sunday against Luxembourg, and then changed out Gonçalo Inácio for Antonio Silva today, keeping Ruben Dias, keeping Danilo so far. I talked with Tom in the last episode about the importance of João Palhinha in that midfield. But in your recap of the match on Sunday, you noted that Bruno Fernandes is asking to play a bit of a different role, playing a little bit deeper, and only got to play a little bit in terms of a more attacking or advanced style once Bernardo Silva was subbed off with Ronaldo in about the 65th minute or so. But I thought in that role, again, the opponent be damned, I think so far so good in trying to find how he and Bernardo Silva can coexist in that starting 11 for the Seleção for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I was thinking about it on the way home, and what I was thinking about is maybe some of those issues that we saw with Bruno and Bernardo playing together under Fernando Santos could have been a little bit to do with the fact that Bruno was kind of getting into those areas where Bernardo already was. But with this new formation, there's not much chance of that happening. So that might be a result, or the result of that might be that, Bernardo just gets more space and he gets to do what he does best. That's just the feeling I have. And yeah, I mean, Bruno is just so intelligent, so smart, that he can easily make a small adjustment on what he usually does for Manchester United and what he was doing for Fernando Santos. And he can just pick and choose when he can move further up and just leave Palhinha there to do the defensive duties. The problem might arise in the future, of course, when you're playing better teams. If he decides to do that, and then as soon as they lose the ball, the wingbacks are going to be up there. It's going to be that's I guess the one thing that concerns me with what's happening now. Once they come up against more stronger opposition, but we saw with the substitutions he's making, he's bringing on Ruben Neves. I mean, he pushed Palhinha back to central defence in that other game, Liechtenstein. Today, what happened? I can't remember. I don't think. But what I'm saying, he could easily play Neves and Palhinha there against stronger opposition. But then, what do you do with Bruno then? So, there's lots of questions to ask. But I really just think that apart from the formation, which was obvious, you knew from his squad selection that it was going to be a back three. That was obvious. And so there hasn't really been many surprises. You knew he was going to go back three. Pretty sure he was going to bring Palhinha in. It's going to be Felix, Ronaldo, and it was Bernardo. So that all kind of is logical. There wasn't really much out of the box. What I find is a little bit out of the box is that Bruno situation, which isn't really that far out of the box, of course. But it's just something I was thinking about today as I was watching the game. And I thought it was worthwhile me kind of going into it in a bit more detail. And that was my question for Martinez today. And what I liked about his answer was that he brought Bernardo into the answer. And my question was only about Bruno, really. So I like that he connected the two of them after my question about what we've just been talking about. So that's really one thing I will be looking at in more detail as we push on under Martinez.
We're talking with Matthew Marshall of Portugal.net. He has covered the first two, I should say, matches of this Roberto Martinez era for the Seleção as manager, and off to a flying start. 4-0 victory against Liechtenstein on Thursday, a 6-0 victory away to Luxembourg today, or Sunday, as of this recording, Sunday here. Early Monday morning for Matthew in Liechtenstein. But again, a good start and an expected start, obviously, given the quality of the opponent and the quality that he selected, he being Roberto Martinez, about 10 days ago now for his first call-ups. A little off the field here, Matthew, and it's something that it doesn't really matter, I guess, but I hope you can kind of see where I'm going with this. What do you take away from your interactions thus far with Roberto Martinez in terms of kind of what he signed up for, what kind of like the temperament that you have kind of seen with him thus far? Again, I'm not, I'm in my house in California, watching the matches and seeing the clips on YouTube, and I see a gentleman who's got personality, who understands kind of what I think he understands what he has signed up for, but I also think that he's and he's dealt with this in being in the Premier League and with being with Belgium, and also working on network TV during off seasons when he was a club coach. But how is he coming off just on the surface with you thus far, and how is he, I guess, quote unquote, done thus far in your eyes as the manager of Portugal?
Yeah, I saw him for the first time after the Liechtenstein game, and yeah, I didn't go to any of the stuff that happened in Portugal. Tom covered that really well, I thought. But I did see him in Qatar. I saw all of Belgium's games in Qatar, and I went to the press conference after the first game against Canada when they got lucky, and that was the only press conference I saw in Qatar where the player and the manager were there together. Every other press conference, it was manager and then the player separately, or player manager. And Kevin De Bruyne, I mean, the atmosphere with him and Martinez was just, you could tell it's like a marriage about to get divorced. It was just terrible atmosphere there. And then my question to Martinez after the Liechtenstein game was just about the formation. I just asked him, when did you decide that back three was the way to go? Was this something you saw before you even became Portugal manager? Obviously he was managing Belgium when they beat Portugal in the Euros 1-0. And if you remember, a couple of days before that, Germany just destroyed Portugal with the back three, with those wing backs, Kimmich and was it Gosens? So I was interested in that. And I said, look, so my question was, when did you decide to do that? And what are the benefits? Why? And what he does is he and even today with my question, he did it again, where he says stuff like, I don't believe in formations or stuff to do like that. He said we have to defend back three, back four, back five. And I was thinking about it. Like, for me, it was just a pretty simple question. And my understanding is that he's still kind of, I'm not going to say damaged, but he's still traumatized by the Belgian press and what they must have been, giving him as his tenure came to a close there. And I think he's kind of still on the defensive in a way. Is he a bit maybe gun shy to say either like the wrong thing or just, is he trying not to get on step on anybody's toes so early in his new tenure as manager? I just think he must have got asked about formations and stuff so much as Belgian manager. He just decided, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I'm not going to even go there. He just talks, and even the answer he gave about Bruno and Bernardo was all about just, open space, finding space. And I totally understand that, and I agree with it. But at the end of the day, he's come in and he's made it a back three. Anyone can see that. So it's like, just admit it, mate. Like,
Yeah, right.
So I think that's interesting. I just think that, he must be still still hasn't broken free from I don't know, all the questions the Belgian press must have gone at him. But as well as I do that once it goes bad, we saw it with Santos. It doesn't matter what happens. The press, once they turn, it's there's no turning back. So I just think that's interesting. Where I thought it was such a simple question. So it's like when you ask some players about a certain player and they automatically deflect towards the team, or you ask a player about the performance, they automatically say, well, it's about the team. So a lot of questions you ask players and also managers, they have an automatic response. And it seems like whenever you go into a tactical question with Roberto Martínez, he automatically will go, I don't believe in formations. It's just, you know what I mean? He'll go down that road. So that's just something I've picked up. But yeah, of course, I mean, it's early days. And I think every manager with any experience knows that, you've got to enjoy the sunshine while it's there, because the storm will be coming at some point. But as we said before, with this qualification campaign, it's so far away that, he's got a bit of time to breathe easy. So, yeah, he must be loving it at the moment. After that downfall, it was really painful to watch that Belgian team come to a close under his management.
Yeah, there was an article in the Athletic. I forget who wrote it, and I think it came out shortly after Belgium's departure from the World Cup this past winter, and there was reports of disharmony and reports of just kind of, as you mentioned with De Bruyne, just kind of you could see that a divorce was coming.
Oh, it was a disaster.
Yeah, and obviously we're early days here, and Portugal's the new girlfriend, and he's taking her out and getting her nice things, and you know what, he's getting lucky so far. So it's going so far so good for Martinez in this new relationship, but we shall see after that 1 year anniversary and the subsequent months after in Germany. That's for sure. We're talking with Matthew Marshall here of Portugal.net. Another article that I want to talk to you about, and I don't know if you've been able to read it or not, but Mark Ogden of ESPN, he wrote, and I think it came out today or maybe yesterday, but he wrote a piece on Ronaldo about trying to extend kind of like the last virtues of his national team career, and kind of talked about maybe there's a smarter play here for Ronaldo in going to a country in a league like he has in Saudi Arabia, where the physical toll of a season won't be as hard on him at his age, so that he can kind of extend maybe his national team career. A couple of maybe for the Euros. I don't think we'll see Ronaldo in 2026, but God, Matthew, who knows? But again, kind of, and I know we have we had our discussions about Ronaldo at Qatar and just in terms of behavior, but how did he seem physically compared to Qatar to what you saw in these first two matches against Liechtenstein and Luxembourg?
He looks fine. I haven't noticed any difference. Just getting caught offside against Liechtenstein was disappointing. I mentioned that in Qatar. But no, I mean, it's just what you would expect, I think, from Ronaldo. What else would you expect against these teams? This is just easy meat for him. I mean, yeah, he's pretty central. He's not really moving around, but I mean, that's what you want in a way. You want him up there and just more fixed. And I was saying that in 2014. I feel like I was saying that's what he should be doing for the Seleção. Get all these other guys to run around up and down the wing. You don't need him to be doing that. So yeah, I mean, it's I think we talked about this before we started recording, that it'd be fascinating to know Martinez's conversations with Ronaldo. I got a feeling he's probably just made it clear that he has to give Gonçalo Ramos fair amount of game time, and so he's come off the bench. He's been substituted off Ronaldo twice today. It was at 65th minute. It was pretty early, I guess. And
yes,
obviously he wants that hat trick. So and he wants those more goals. So I think it's just Ronaldo's probably learnt a little bit after his exit from Manchester United, from that Piers Morgan thing, from Qatar, and having spent some months in Saudi Arabia now. I think it's more clear to him now what he has to do. As you said, prolong his career. And I didn't think about it, but Saudi Arabia will definitely help that. And yeah, maybe just sticking to that central forward role. It just keep it so simple, And today the first 3 goals was crosses into the box, and he didn't head any of them. I mean, the first one he was just there. But also, I think what you might have seen from the first one is, especially a team like Luxembourg. I mean, those defenders are going to be so worried about Ronaldo that it opens space for João Félix, for Bernardo Silva, for other guys pushing up. So his presence just there will just open space for those guys. And you saw Félix playing quite close to him. So I think it's fine. I mean, it's logical that Ronaldo is going to start these games. It's obvious that Martinez is going to give these guys Danilo and the opportunities to prove themselves. Or maybe that's the bad way of putting it, but like a club manager, you don't just come in and just you got to give respect to the elder statesmen of the team. So I think it's fine for Ronaldo, and as you say, this tournament is a long way away, so it's just not a sprint. This is definitely a marathon, and I think the signs are pretty good.
Yeah, the marathon here, even though it seems like a foregone conclusion that Portugal will be in Germany in the summer of 2024, how we get there and who will be there is maybe still yet to be determined in a much bigger scale than we could probably even see at the moment. But it'll be interesting to see how Roberto Martinez uses Cristiano Ronaldo in maybe matches that maybe mean a little bit more and a little against harder competition than these first 2 matches, and see what that reaction then becomes. But that's something that we'll find out as soon as June 17, which will be the next match for the Seleção when they host Bosnia and Herzegovina. Not sure where that match is going to be. I know it's in Portugal, but I don't know if the stadium has been announced.
Yeah,
is that at the Luge?
I'm pretty sure it's at the Luge, yeah.
Okay, well, nothing bad happens to Portugal at the Luge, so that's
it's in Lisbon. It has to be at the Luge, yeah.
Okay, so another thing I kind of wanted to talk to you about, and again, we're talking with Matthew Marshall here on episode number 78 of the Seleção podcast. I don't know if it's a coincidence with João Félix leaving Atletico and heading to Chelsea, but obviously these are his first 2 matches since the move from Atletico to Chelsea, and I just think, and again, competition is what it is, but he just seems to be growing in more and more confidence in his starting role, because it looks like he's unless his form dips. I think he's kind of maybe cemented himself in this starting role under this kind of formation and play with Roberto Martinez going forward. How have you seen, again, differences between what you saw in Qatar to what you've seen in these first 2 matches with Roberto Martinez, and from when the counting the matches as a member of Chelsea as well. Sorry to cut you off there.
Yeah, I don't watch football on TV, but yeah, he was pretty good in Qatar. And you have to remember that for so long he's just injured. We thought when he kind of came into the squad, we were going to see a lot of him and Ronaldo together. This was before Jota really made a name for himself at Liverpool, if I'm remembering it correctly. But we've never really seen Félix and Ronaldo together with any sort of consistency. So it's interesting today. I was you saw it's a small stadium, and I felt like I could touch Nuno Mendes in the first half. I was situated between the halfway line and the 18-yard box where Portugal were attacking. And, of course, Félix was on that side. So I was really close to seeing how he was operating, linking up with Nuno Mendes and Ronaldo and the midfield and that. So it was really good to see. And, it's just not a surprise. I don't think that he would be an automatic starter, really. They've got Jota there, you've got Leão as well, but just the smarts of Félix and the cleverness. You saw him basically set up the fourth goal where he just got in there and intercepted the ball, gave it straight to Bruno, and then Ronaldo goal. Without Felix, that doesn't happen. Saw him score the header. So he's got all the skills. We already know that. And yeah, having a confident Felix is a huge bonus for Portugal. We haven't really seen him gain any consistency because of injuries, because of drama in Madrid, whatever you want. So that's a huge bonus for Portugal. And yeah, Martinez for sure. He's not going to change that anytime soon, I don't think.
Yeah, another young player who just seemed to have a very positive, two positive appearances, especially in Sunday's match, was Rafael Leão. He's got the immense talent. We know that what he can do with pace and what he can do, just the patience he showed on the goal that he scored, can tell you all that you need to know about just the type of player that he can be when he decides to kind of put everything going forward and not try to do maybe more than he's being asked to do. But I guess on more of a tactical kind of thing, what do you do, Matthew, when you have a player and a talent like that, who, again, it was 15 minutes today, 20 minutes with added time, but he was absolutely diabolical against Luxembourg. And again, it is against Luxembourg, but it's not the first time we've seen this as a player coming off the bench. You automatically start hearing, and it's human nature. It's like, well, if he's doing that off the bench, clearly he needs to be put into the starting 11 so he could do it over a more expanded period of time. This is kind of going to be a Roberto Martinez answer, but I think it's going to depend on the situation for me with Rafael Leão, because if he is, he's a perfect player to come in the 65th, 70th, 75th minute after defenders have been dealing with guys like Félix and Ronaldo and Bernard Silva and Bruno Fernandes. To just
and
be
and
Nuno Mendes, and especially if they're both now Nuno Mendes and Rafael Leão like they were on the same side of things.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the perfect answer to if you're tired, you're going to be even more tired now, and we got the guy who's going to kind of kill the game for us, so to speak. But what's your take on not just him, but just kind of in general, like a guy who just does so well and is so talented coming off the bench to maybe be inserted into the starting lineup, given the success that he's had coming off that bench?
I've said it from the beginning that he's the perfect bench player, really, and for all the reasons you just mentioned, and we saw it today. If you want a highlight reel of what you can do, what sort of damage you can do off the bench, as you said, he's just got all those skills. Imagine what it must have been like for those Luxembourg players today. They've already been, running around chasing the ball for 70 minutes, and then he comes on. Seriously. It was hard for me to see a lot of it because it was on the other side of the pitch, and I was, as I said, that my seats were quite down low, so I didn't have a great view of what he was doing. Obviously I saw it, and I haven't seen any of the replays yet. But you have to look at the other players. We just talked about João Félix. We saw Diogo Jota get a lot of starts under Fernando Santos. So it's just logical that he would come off the bench. The interesting thing about it is if you play a 4-3-3 or what Martinez is doing, then that role doesn't change that much. There's not much difference whatsoever. But I just think if you're talking about outside noise, there's just so much bias with who people support, and if they happen to, obviously we're talking about a guy playing in Italy, but I don't really hear any of the noise, and I just try and see it for what it is and what the managers are doing, and I still don't see him being a starter anytime soon. Not if Portugal are full strength. Okay, if Felix goes down, is it Jota or is it Leão? Who knows? But Jota is more similar in style to Felix, so you would have to think he would still be coming off the bench. I don't see Martinez changing this formation anytime soon. Like regardless of what he says, this is the formation that he thinks is best. And without friendlies, he needs to give the players time to get used to it. Inacio had a crack at it. Antonio Silva's had a crack at it. Palhinha's having a go at it. Bruno Fernandes is having a go at it. For Bernardo, it's a bit different. For the wing backs, it's not maybe that different. I mean, they were getting so high under Fernando Santos anyway, but their role is slightly different. So all these players have to adjust, not only to the formation but to the difference in the players around them. And so, if you look at it from Martinez's point of view, he has to just keep going with it and just be consistent. The more practice, the better it's going to be for when we get into these situations where we're coming up against much stronger opposition. So I just don't see Leão becoming a starter anytime soon. As you say, he's just the best bench weapon you could ask for.
Yeah, and I think as a manager, it's Roberto Martinez's job to put his players, whomever they are, in the best possible situation to help the national team succeed. And I from what I got from your answer, Matthew, this isn't about a skill level. It's not a skill level question with Leão because he has it in spades. But Roberto Martinez has also said that this pool isn't just like 26 players. It's more like 35, probably close to 40 in terms of like tougher decisions as we get to numbers 20, 21, 22, 23 because of the abundance of talent that this national team has produced over the years and continuously is producing at the younger levels too, in the under 19s and under 21s, which we'll kind of close out with that at the end of the interview here. But
just real quick, mate. Sorry,
yeah.
I just wanted to say I've never seen Leão as a striker. He played as a striker at the under 20 World Cup, and it was really, you'd have to say, only when he went to Milan and was playing exclusively on the left wing that we've just seen him explode. And what did we see today? All of his damage is coming from that channel, and the goal he scored. I mean, that's his trademark. That's his go. I think any discussion about him playing striker is pointless. I don't think it's ever going to happen, and I don't think it should happen.
Yeah, and I guess like at the end of the day, Martinez has to just put the players in the roles that will best fit his national team for the result to get the most out of it, no matter no matter what the role is. But yeah, it's a good problem to have, Matthew. I mean, Roberto Martinez has walked into a national team that, again, in terms of talent, is as good as anyone could ask for in terms of a job being available and walking in. So, these first two matches, and you mentioned it, and I think Tom mentioned it too, is these first two matches was not to begin an upheaval in terms of kind of shaping the way he wants the national team to be. You got to pay respect to the players that have been there before, especially those who have been part of the success of this national team. But these next June qualifiers are, if I'm doing my math correctly, that's 3 months and change, maybe a little less than 3 months, and a lot can happen in the leagues. Injuries, God forbid, can happen as well. But I guess the last question for you regarding the senior team and about Roberto Martinez is that if you were Roberto Martinez, now that you've gotten your first phase of the national team kind of behind you, if you were him and if you were in his spot, what would you be looking for in these next couple of months leading up to the qualifiers in June as part of like your step-by-step process to kind of make this national team your national team heading into next summer's Euros?
I was thinking that he has to address the Pep situation. I mean, the tournament being so far away, and Pep just turned 40, was it? In February last month.
Yeah, he'd be 41 next summer. Yeah,
I think Martinez should just put that to bed one way or another. I just don't think it's worthwhile I don't think it's worthwhile even going there. If I was Martinez, I'd have a quiet conversation with Pep and just push him towards, not push him, but suggest to him that just retire, or just tell him straight up, I don't see you being able to help us in Germany in 2024. Therefore, it's just pointless me playing you and taking game time away from Inacio, Antonio Silva, whoever. I would deal with that.
Do you think his naming him being named, I should say, to the original roster was just one of those out of respect type deals?
I don't know.
Because he was injured before, but he's also been injured prior to being called up and has been called up. And again, it's something that I just don't understand, and especially with Roberto Martinez. Fernando Santos, he was guilty of doing this many times, where not so much with Pep, but it happened with Pep. I think maybe at least once, but there would be no replacement for him. There would be no young central defender or any player whatsoever named to replace Pep on the roster. And given that Roberto Martinez has this fresh lease on life, getting away from Belgium, getting to Portugal. Yes, Pep has been a mainstay for this national team, but if he can't go, what is the harm in bringing up another central defender or anybody else for that matter to take Pep's spot? That's a decision that's confused me, especially for someone who is new to his job with this national team. It's like, just bring somebody in. You're trying to find Pep's replacement anyway, and I don't think we have that clear definition yet. Many people think it's Danilo because he continues to be the starter. But it just in all seriousness, it's like, what's the harm in naming a replacement for a guy who physically cannot go?
It's a hard one, isn't it? You got to respect what he's done. He's come back from injuries many times. As I said, the distance towards the tournament, though, the length of time, I don't see it, and I think it's a hard call that Martinez should make. Or maybe Pep will make it for him. I'm not sure exactly what the nature of the injury is. I don't really read that sort of news, but and it's, if you look at it, let's say he brings Pep in, what's he going to do? Move Diaz to a wider spot? That might backfire. It's much easier to play in the middle of a back three than on the outside where you're more exposed. So it has a lot of flow-on effects, the Pep thing. You know what I mean? A lot of flow-on effects if you want to bring him in and give him game time and start him. I forgot what your question was.
No, I guess
just give me a snapshot of the question again.
Yeah, just like, okay, he's gotten through his first quote unquote test as national team manager. He's got his first 2 wins. The next qualifiers are now in June. What are you, if you are Roberto Martinez, what are you looking at for these next few months? If you were him, that you're trying to either, how are you trying to shape your team? If you are trying to shape your team, and like kind of what steps are you going to maybe try to take if you were him between now and these June qualifiers that ultimately lead to what kind of team you want to take, hopefully next summer to Germany?
It's difficult. I think we've seen with his squad selection in the first 2 games, as I mentioned before, that he just wants to give these players enough time to get used to this system. And at the same time, I think people underestimate just how much managers learn just from the training and from calling players up and putting them in a squad and seeing them face to face, see them every day in training. I think managers learn a lot. And we just see it as though, okay, he brought up, let's say, Diogo Leite, and Diogo Leite didn't play. But Martinez would have learned a lot just from seeing him in that space. So, I think that there's not going to be a whole lot of changes. He wants as much consistency as possible for that familiarity, but he also is going to want to see more of like Diogo Jota. He's going to want to see maybe a double pivot of Neves and Palhinha, something like that. But it's going to be difficult because they're all competitive games, and you can't. You can afford to slip up, but he doesn't. I'm pretty sure he's just going to want to just qualify as soon as possible, and then maybe use some of those later games for more experimentation, maybe. But I just think that from what we've seen in these opening 2 games, it's really clear what he wants, what he's going to try and do, and I don't see a whole lot of deviation from what he's done already. You'd probably will see João Cancelo and Nuno Mendes together, which will be bad news for opposition. Just trying to get those movements, trying to, as I said before, Felix hasn't played much with Ronaldo. So just combinations is what he's going to be looking at. He's going to be looking at stuff like the first 3 goals today, crosses into the box. How can we use that more effectively? How can we use our wing backs more effectively? How can we, look for triggers for Bruno to push up and to use him more effectively, closer to the front line? That's what he's going to be thinking about, and trying to implement and trying to improve, before the next two qualifiers.
Yeah, as we sit here on at the what's today, Matthew? Is this today the 26th for me, 27th for you, sir?
27 now, yeah.
All right. Well, happy Monday to you, as you're in your time machine. Portugal sit atop Group J in the Euro in the qualifying for the European Championships next summer. 6 points out of 6. Slovakia, they have 4 points. Bosnia and Herzegovina, they have 3. Iceland has 3. Luxembourg with a draw, and then Liechtenstein sitting below with 0 points, no goals, 11 scored on them. So, again, this national team will not be judged unless something bad happens in these qualifiers until next summer. So we'll leave it as that. Again, you can't think of a better start, because I don't think there was any other alternative, Matthew, to be quite honest. But
it was always going to go this way.
Yeah.
It was only about what we've been discussing in the changes that Martinez has made from the Santos era, and I think we've pretty much broken it all down. Tom and I were talking about Paulinho for so long, so that's great to see that happen. It was really a no-brainer. We're seeing Inacio, we're seeing Antonio Silva. What else is there? There's really not really much. As I said, I'm just really curious. I'm sure there's better tactical geniuses out there that could analyze whether Bruno's positioning is opening up more space for Bernardo and how do I say, is contributing to maybe Bernardo showing more consistency for the Seleção. But we don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We need more games against better opposition to see if that's indeed the case. So it's very much watch this space.
Absolutely. In talking about more games, let's quickly get to the younger side of things with the under-19s and the under-21s. Under-19s just qualified for the European Championships this summer, so congratulations to them, obviously. And then the under-21s, not Monday but Tuesday, they'll also be playing in qualifiers as well.
No, that's Tuesday. A friendly game.
Friendly. I'm sorry. But just kind of give us a little bit of a snapshot of what, because Matthew, you've been everywhere, my friend, and a little bit of a snapshot of what you've seen from the under-19s and under-21s in the last few days or so.
I went to the first 2 under-19 qualifiers, and they've done it because it goes on head-to-head. The first game wasn't great. I think the manager is dealing with a few new players that don't have much cohesion. Schmidti, I think it's still quite a new team, but there's a lot of talent there. João Félix, who's Joao's brother, he just tore it up yesterday, was it? I don't know. I'm just losing track of days, mate. But,
you're everywhere, man. It's fine.
I don't know. Good. Yesterday, tomorrow, next. I don't know. But yeah, he tore it up, and they got a pretty good team. They didn't qualify last year because the elite round was actually in England, and they lost the final game against England, so they didn't go to the tournament. But this elite round is in Portugal, which is obviously a huge advantage. So well done to them. They're going to play in a tournament which is in Malta. And the under-17 side, they won their opening 2 games. So they've got a 3-point lead in the group, but they got to take on Czech Republic in the final game, and Czech Republic would have to win. Well, they have to win because if it's on head-to-head, then they'll go through. So Portugal avoid defeat. So still an important game. That's down in Viseu. I won't be able to go to that game, but that'll be a huge game. So they haven't got their ticket. That tournament is in Hungary, and the under-21 side, they already qualified a long time ago. That qualification campaign feels like, I feel like I was 20 when it happened. It was ages ago. And they played one friendly the other day in Romania. That was to get used to the conditions out there, even though they'll be playing all their games in Georgia because it's a split tournament. And they'll come back. So they're going to play one more friendly on Tuesday in Barzim. So I'll probably go to that one because there's no need for me to go to the under-19 qualifier. And hopefully I can have a chat with Fabio Vieira, Fabio Silva, maybe, some of those guys. We'll see. Pedro Neto is also back in the squad. So hopefully I'll be able to have a chat with those guys and see how they're going and see how they're feeling. That tournament's in Georgia. Well, it's in Romania and Georgia, but Portugal won't be playing any games in Romania, even if they go all the way to the final. So that's a lot to look forward to. They've got an excellent team. Rui Jorge brought on at halftime. He brought on Dantas. He brought on Vitinha, Fabio Silva, Fabio Vieira, Nuno Tavares. Even though he's lost guys like Gonçalo Ramos, Inácio probably. I think Thiago Jalozzi injured, so he's lost a few defenders. It's almost a new defense completely. Even the wide guys. You've got Maliedo and Lelo. But it's still an excellent team, and I still think they should make the final. They should go very close to winning that tournament. So a lot for people to look forward to and to watch in the summer, when the club football comes to a close.
Well, always looking forward to getting you back on here, Matthew, and safe travels to you. Thank you so much for joining us and making some time. Again, very late for you, or technically very early on a Monday for you, but greatly appreciate always your expertise and your opinions on the Seleção, and we will catch up with you, I should say, in June for these qualifiers against Bosnia and Herzegovina, and I believe are we going to Iceland next day? Let me see. I think I've already screwed that up, but so
home game Iceland and then away. Home game against Bosnia and then away to Iceland, and then then there's another break until the summertime, where there's another game. They're going to play one down in the Algarve. So, mate, it's going to be time for that rodizio de peixe. I could feel it. I can taste it. I can taste it. Get yourself a plate or two, my man. I would recommend it. All right, Matthew. All the best. Is coming. No worries, mate. Nice seeing you again. Best wishes to you and your family. Yeah. And I hope you and your son are having some more positive experiences with the Seleção now. Oh God, God bless you, man. I remember telling you that, and he actually, I was telling both my boys today. I was telling them, hey, Portugal's playing, and my 5-year-old, he goes, hey, is Ronaldo still on the team? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, good. And then he walked away and didn't watch the game. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. He was playing his video game or whatever, but I'm like, he's at least somewhat tuned in to what's going on. But he's just, he knew that there was a question about him continuing his career. And is Ronaldo playing? Yeah. Okay, good. And then I'm like, all right, all is well. So, all right, pal. All the best. Moving on. No worries. Safe travels, and we'll talk soon. Cheers, mate. See you later. You got it. All right, everybody. That was Matthew Marshall from Portugal.net. You could follow Matthew on Twitter at NoobsCorp. You could see the Twitter handle on the bottom of the ticker here. We'll also put a link to Matthew's articles from these first two matches between Portugal and Liechtenstein, and also Portugal and Luxembourg that you can find at Portugal.net. Again, not a real surprise as to what should have happened in these first two matches under Roberto Martínez, but it's still good to see that it happened, and that's the biggest positive for me that I see, is that what was expected to happen happened. That first match against Liechtenstein, it was 1-0 at half.
they couldn't break through in the first half as much as we all would have liked to. I think Tom had mentioned that it was an uninspiring kind of start to the first half. I wouldn't call it uninspiring. They had the ball, they just couldn't find a way to break through. They finally did break through, and then the floodgates opened in the second half. And then in the game against Luxembourg on Sunday, it broke through real quick, and it was 3-0 before the 20 minutes had passed. And again, this was what I was expecting to see from a Roberto Martínez team. He's undefeated in European qualifiers. In his World Cup qualifiers with Belgium, they put up a massive amount of goals, gave up very few, and qualified with ease. The qualifying with ease is what Matthew and I are kind of hoping for, to kind of see if we can get maybe some quote unquote friendlies on the board to see what we can try to get out of this. Roberto Martínez has mentioned, this is a group of 35, 40 players that we're seeing. I'd love to see like 30 through 40 at some point in this qualifying phase, in a point where, maybe these games, I don't want to say don't matter, but don't matter in terms of what Portugal needs to do in the summer, but to give these guys an opportunity to showcase what they can do, whether it is on the field in competition or, as Matthew mentioned, like with a guy like Diogo Leite, just getting time on the practice field against these other senior guys, just to see what's what they can do against one another and against this competition. Again, there's not a lot of negative for me at all, other than seeing what I saw, which was expected. So that's not a negative. It's just, you can't be too high or too low. But if I had to give myself an overall feeling about the first two matches, I take away huge positives, just because they did what they were expected to do and didn't make it painful to get through these matches. So if that's a low bar, that's a low bar. But this is a new era, so I'll take whatever positive approach we can go with these first two matches, because I don't know if you guys have noticed this. Portuguese people can be a little negative. So I'll take these first two matches anyway that they came, and they came with 10 goals, none given up, at top of the group, and yeah, we'll see how this goes going forward. So I am Danny Pinto. I just got a text message from my wife, so I apologize for kind of pausing there. But this has been episode number 78 of the Seleção podcast. Remember to follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at Seleção Pod. Facebook.com/Seleção Pod is our Facebook page. Like that, share that with all your friends and family. Email the show, selecaopod@gmail.com. Bookmark our website, selecaopod.com. Subscribe to us and give us all kinds of ratings if you can on any of your podcasting platforms. Make sure you click the like button on YouTube here. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit that notification button on YouTube. And of course, anything that comes out, we will be all over it between now and these qualifiers in June, and obviously all the way through the road to 2024, which hopefully the Seleção will be playing in Germany next summer. My thanks again to Matthew Marshall of Portugal.net, who is a proud partner of Portugal. We are a proud partner of Portugal.net. See, I've said it so many times, I use it as a question. I apologize, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, I've run out of gas. But as always, Força Portugal!